There's a moment, and every man feels it sooner or later. It doesn't come from a mirror. It comes from how others treat you. It's in their eyes when they look past you. It's in their fake smile when they tolerate you, but don't take you seriously. It's in the way they talk, polite, but distant, like you don't matter. That's when something inside you whispers. Something feels off. You don't know what changed. You're still the same person, but something in your presence feels weak. You talk, but they don't really listen. You explain yourself, but it makes you look unsure. You try to be kind, hoping they'll treat you better, but it only makes you invisible. So you double down. You start explaining more. You apologize when you shouldn't. You keep the peace, even when it kills your pride. And still, the disrespect continues. That's the moment you wake up, the moment you realize respect isn't something you ask for, it's something you radiate. They don't ignore you because of what you said. They ignore you because of what you didn't say, because of the energy you carry, because somewhere, without knowing it, you handed them the power, and now you're paying the price. But the good news? Power can be taken back, without shouting, without begging. We're going to show you how. 1. Why people start treating you like you're weak. Let's be honest, people don't just wake up one day and start treating you like you're weak. It happens slowly. It starts the moment you stop standing up for yourself in small ways. The moment you smile when someone insults you. The moment you let someone interrupt you and you stay quiet. The moment you're scared to make people uncomfortable, even when they're stepping on your pride. Each time you tell yourself, it's not worth the argument. I'll just let it go. I want to be the bigger person. But here's the truth. People aren't reading your intentions. They're reading your posture. They're watching how you respond. And the message you're sending, whether you mean to or not, is, I'm okay with being disrespected. And once people sense that, the way they treat you changes forever. They may not even do it consciously, but deep down they've decided, you're not someone they have to respect. They'll talk over you. They'll laugh at you. They'll treat you like background noise. And what hurts the most? They won't even realize they're doing it. That's when you start to feel powerless. You try harder. You become more agreeable. You try to be more likable. But all it does is prove their point. You need their approval more than they need your respect. And that's the trap. Because the more you chase validation, the less respect you command. That's why men like Machiavelli believed power isn't taken by being louder. It's taken by being unshakable. By being someone who doesn't chase, but chooses who to engage with. Someone who can walk away and not look back. The real question is, are you ready to become that man? 2. Rebuilding presence. Why respect starts in silence. Power doesn't start with words. It starts with presence. And presence isn't about being loud, flashy, or dominant. It's about something deeper. It's the quiet confidence that radiates from someone who doesn't need to prove anything. You've seen it. A man walks into a room and says nothing, yet everyone feels him. Not because of his clothes, not because of his status, but because he doesn't flinch. He's grounded. He doesn't try to be liked. He doesn't explain who he is. He just is. That kind of energy makes people stop and pay attention. Now compare that to the man who talks too much, who over-explains, who laughs to fill the silence, who nervously watches for approval in everyone's face. That man is readable, and what's readable is controllable. Machiavelli said, "A wise man hides his intentions, because once people can't figure you out, they fear losing your favor. They respect your silence more than your words." This is how you shift the power dynamic, not with noise, but with stillness. You become unpredictable. You stop reacting instantly. You look people in the eye and don't blink. You let your silence ask the questions they fear to answer. They wonder what you're thinking. They overanalyze your words. They start trying to earn your attention because you've trained them to value it. This doesn't mean becoming rude or emotionless. It means becoming centered. It means you don't chase. You don't over-explain. You don't try to fix their perception of you. You let your actions and your absence speak for you. Because when you're truly powerful, you don't need to raise your voice. Your silence will haunt them louder than anything you could ever say. 3. Strategic shifts. How to quietly change the way people treat you. The best way to change how people treat you is to stop telling them who you are and start showing them what you accept. You don't need to yell. You don't need revenge. You need a standard. And the first shift? Withdraw your availability. You've been too easy to reach, too quick to reply, too available, emotionally and physically. It teaches people one thing: you don't value your time, so why should they? Start delaying your responses. Not to play games, but to train respect. When you stop replying instantly, people become more thoughtful in how they speak to you. When you don't say yes to everything, people begin to value your yes. The second shift: say less, watch more. You don't need to explain your silence. You don't owe them your thoughts. Let your facial expressions do the work. Stay calm, even when they try to provoke you. You'll notice something strange. Their tone changes. Their words soften. They start treating you like someone they can't afford to lose. The third shift: leave when you're disrespected, without warning, without drama. You don't fight. You don't argue. You simply remove yourself. That quiet exit teaches more than 100 arguments ever could. Because people don't remember what you say. They remember how your absence felt. And when they notice you're gone, and they can't predict if you'll come back, the power dynamic changes forever. These aren't just tricks. They're psychological rewiring. They force others to adjust because you've stopped adjusting for them. And once you commit to these shifts, people will start treating you very differently. Not because they changed, but because you did. 4. Kill the need for validation. Rewire the mind for power. Respect doesn't come from how much you do for others. It comes from how little you need from them. And that's where most people lose the game, inside their own mind. They overthink every interaction. They replay conversation. They wonder if they said too much or not enough. They shrink themselves to avoid tension. Why? Because they've been trained to fear being misunderstood more than they fear being weak. But here's the truth. If your mind is always looking for signs of approval, it becomes easy to control. People don't even have to disrespect you, they just have to withhold validation. And you'll fold. You'll overcompensate. You'll start giving more than you should, just to feel seen. This is where the mental rewiring begins. You must kill the habit of needing to be liked. Because needing to be liked is the first step to being used. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He didn't care about looking good, he cared about being feared, respected, and untouchable. And you don't get that by being emotionally hungry. You get that by building mental silence. That means you say what needs to be said and then let it go. You don't over-explain your decisions. You don't wait for their reaction to decide your mood. You stop trying to be perfect and start being solid. When your mind no longer needs permission to feel powerful, that's when people will start sensing it. You become mysterious, grounded, dangerously calm, and people won't know how to label you. But they'll respect you, even if they don't say it out loud. Because power isn't something you show, it's something you carry. 5. Control the room without a word. How distance creates power. You don't need to dominate people by force. You dominate them by presence. And that presence is built in silence, protected by distance, and sharpened by restraint. Most people flood the room with noise. They try too hard, talk too much, laugh when they don't want to, ask too many questions, try to connect with everyone, hoping to be liked by someone. But here's what they don't realize. Every time you make yourself easily available, you lose a piece of your power. Respect isn't earned through noise. It's earned through absence. When you don't rush to be seen, people start looking for you. When you don't jump into every conversation, your words carry more weight when you speak. When you don't try to connect with everyone, people start competing to connect with you. That's the reversal. You're not the one chasing the crowd. You're the one they watch from a distance, wondering what you're thinking. You don't explain your silence. You don't justify your choices. You don't advertise your value, because true power is felt, not described. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved if one must choose." Why? Because fear, even subtle fear, breeds caution. People move carefully around you. They choose their words. They don't want to lose your attention. Because you've made it clear, you're not afraid to walk away. Distance is power. It makes people guess. It makes them work for access. And when access to you becomes a privilege, that's when the game flips. You stop being just another person. You become the one whose silence speaks louder than their noise. 6. The power of walking away. Detachment is the final weapon. Here's the truth. Nothing destroys a manipulator faster than your silence, followed by your absence. Most people stay in situations too long. They tolerate disrespect. They wait for closure. They keep hoping the other person will realize their worth. But all that does is train others to treat them like an option. Why? Because they've attached their self-worth to how others respond. They confuse attention with value. They think being needed means being respected. But power doesn't come from being needed. It comes from not needing anyone to validate who you are. That's why walking away isn't weakness, it's leverage. It's the move that forces the other side to finally feel your presence through your absence. When you detach emotionally, when you stop caring whether they understand you, like you, or even miss you, that's when you become untouchable. You're no longer controlled by reactions. You're no longer chained to outcomes. You reclaim your time, your energy, your peace. And that makes people uncomfortable, because now they can't use guilt to pull you back. They can't use silence to manipulate you. They can't use your emotions as a weapon against you. You're gone. Not physically, maybe, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And that loss burns louder than your words ever could. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that the ability to walk away without flinching was the ultimate test of strength. It's not about being cold, it's about being in control. So the next time someone crosses the line, don't argue. Just go quiet, then vanish. No warnings, no drama, just distance. Let them feel what life is like without your energy. Let them learn the hard way that you were never to be taken lightly. You wake up early. Emotional stillness is psychological dominance. There's a kind of strength that doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't shake. It doesn't defend itself. It just sits still and watches everything. That's emotional control. And in this world, it's one of the rarest forms of power. Most people are emotionally unstable not because they're weak, but because they're reactive. Someone disrespects them, they snap. Maybe someone ignores them, they chase. Someone questions them, they over-explain. They live on the edge of other people's moods, always adjusting, always reacting. But here's the shift. Powerful people don't react, they observe. They hold the frame. That means they stay calm when others get emotional. They keep their tone steady while others raise their voice. They don't rush to explain themselves, defend their honor, or prove a point. Because once you lose your emotional control, you've already lost the game. Machiavelli believed that a ruler must remain composed even in chaos, because the one who keeps calm controls the room. And in your life, that rule still applies. When someone insults you and you don't flinch, they start questioning themselves. When someone tries to provoke you and you stay quiet, they feel exposed. When people gossip about you and you remain indifferent, your silence becomes louder than their noise. You become the one who sets the emotional temperature, and everyone else adjusts to you. That's how you win power in any room, not by fighting harder, but by reacting less. And the man who can stay calm while others break down, that man becomes unforgettable. Because in a world full of emotional chaos, stillness is a weapon. 8. Scarcity creates power. Why being less makes you more. Here's a truth most people never realize. The more available you are, the less you're respected. People don't value what they can always have. They value what they might lose. And that's where you've been losing power, by being too present, irreachable, too eager to prove your worth, too quick to reply, to help, to show up, even when it's not appreciated. You think being reliable earns loyalty, but often it only trains people to treat you like a tool, something they reach for when they need it, and ignore when they don't. So here's the shift. Make yourself scarce, not to play games, but to restore your value. Start pulling your energy back. Start protecting your time. Say no more often, without guilt. Step away from conversations that drain you. Stop explaining where you've been or why you didn't reply immediately. Let people wonder. Let them feel the gap your silence leaves behind. Because the truth is, distance teaches better than presence ever will. Machiavelli understood this deeply. He advised rulers to appear rarely, so their presence would strike harder when it was felt. He knew that mystery breeds attention, and that attention breeds influence. You don't need to shout to be noticed. You need to disappear strategically, and let the silence do the talking. People don't chase what's always in front of them. They chase what they can't quite reach. They respect what doesn't chase them back. And when you stop showing up for everyone, you force them to ask, truly does his energy feel so rare now? Bubbly, do I feel like I lost something? That's not ego. That's power, earned by discipline, not noise. The more you withhold, the more they respect what you give. 9. The final shift. Become the man they can't ignore. You've been quiet for too long, but not the right kind of quiet. You've been silent out of fear, out of anxiety, out of the habit of keeping peace. Your silence carries weight. Your absence has meaning. Your energy is no longer up for grabs. And suddenly, the game is different. You don't explain yourself. You don't chase anyone. You don't ask for clarity, closure, or attention. You give exactly what's earned, no more, no less. You've become rare. And in a world full of noise, rarity becomes power. People feel the shift, even if they don't understand it. They talk to you differently. They hesitate before speaking. They look at you, but they can't read you. Because the man you used to be, the one who tried too hard to be understood, liked, and included, is gone. Now you carry something else. Something stronger. Presence. And here's the truth. They don't want you to know. When you master your silence, they fill in the blanks with fear or fascination. When you walk away, they realize your value too late. When you become emotionally still, they lose their power to manipulate. When you appear less, your presence becomes unforgettable. That's what Machiavelli understood about power. Control begins within. You don't beg for respect. You build a life, a mind, and a presence that commands it without words. Now you're no longer just reacting to the world. You're shaping it with your standards, your silence, and your self-respect. You're not just a man anymore. You're a force, a mirror, a test, a consequence. And those who once overlooked you, they won't forget you again. This is your rebirth. Not loud, not dramatic, but silent and permanent. From this point on, you no longer explain. You no longer wait for permission. You don't argue for your worth, and you don't chase what disrespects you. You walk differently now. You look people in the eye with stillness, not arrogance, but certainty. You speak less, not because you're shy, but because your silence is louder than their noise. You are no longer afraid to be misunderstood, because you finally understand yourself. And that changes everything. The weak will feel uncomfortable around you, not because you hurt them, but because your presence exposes their lack of self-control. The manipulators will back off, because your mind is no longer open to negotiation. And the world? It will either adjust to your energy, or it will lose access to you. That's the new law. No more overthinking. No more emotional slavery. No more shrinking to fit into small minds and fake friendships. From now on, your silence will be your sword. Your stillness, your shield. And your absence, your loudest statement. Because you didn't come here to be liked. You came here to be respected. And if they can't respect you, let them lose you. They'll feel it every second. If you're done being ignored, if you're ready to build a mind they can't bend, subscribe to this channel. Like this video if it woke something in you. And comment below. I move in silence, they feel it anyway. This isn't motivation. This is war. And now, you're ready.